Hello, this is Tim Campsa with TBC Action Coach of Indiana with our Business Spotlight series. The purpose is to interview local business owners and promote them through our social channels and email database, as well as provide them coaching. This is a free service we're providing because when every small business is strong, then the economy is strong. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Liesel. Liesel, it's great to have you on the program today.
Thanks so much for having me on this beautiful Wednesday.
So let's jump in and have you introduce yourself and tell us a little of your background.
Yeah, my name is Liesel Mertes, and I am a workplace empathy consultant and the founder of Handle with Care Consulting. I live on the north side of Indianapolis. I am a parent to 5 children, 4 of whom are living. So we have a full house with a dog and 2 bunnies. And I'm married. I've been doing my business for almost 3 years now. And I firmly believe that empathy training and coaching has never been as important as it is right now. It is an essential skill for organizations of any size and just for living life in our disrupted times.
So empathy coaching, we don't hear that every day. I'd love for you to explain for all of us a little bit more detail. What does that mean and how do you help people?
Yeah. Well, so often we think of empathy as this like touchy feely kind of amorphous thing that some people have it and some people don't. And does it really have an impact? And what I firmly believe is that empathy is a skill that can be taught. It's a capacity you can grow in, like any other skill for your business that we give attention to because we believe it affects our people and our bottom line. And empathy does, the data points continue to come out. It will make you a more profitable organization. It will help you retain and attract better talent. And COVID has just shone a light on it. And it's a work that I come to out of a very personal place. When I was in my first year of an MBA program, I was pregnant with my 3rd child, a little girl named Mercy, and she actually died in February of 2011. And it was a moment to realize that I was not okay. I needed a lot of support, and some people did that really well. And then there were other people who, I mean, they didn't even know how much they missed me when they missed me. So that was a seed that germinated later on down the line into the business that I now get to do.
Wow, I am so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
So let's go into just a little bit more detail about your business. So a fun question I like to ask people is if you had a 60-second commercial for your business, what would that commercial be?
Yeah. The last year has been full of disruptive life events, from job loss to disease to death. Your people are facing challenges at a scale of never before. And it's difficult to know whether you're doing all you can to keep them engaged and to give them the tools that they need to support their mental health. Empathy coaching, whether it's through keynote addresses, certificate programs, or one on one coaching, is a way that you can build up the essential capacity within your workforce to consistently show care and display support when it matters most. So contact Handle with Care Consulting and let us help.
Fantastic. I think that is the best elevator pitch I've heard with everyone I've interviewed. Oh,
Well,
outstanding.
thank you. I am a big one for verbal affirmations. So lovely.
So tell us, Lisa, who do you serve? Who's your best customer or client and what we call our target audience?
Yeah, my best clients are ones that are already thinking about employee care and support. Sometimes I'm contacted by people who they really have toxic, underfunctioning cultures, and they're doing so poorly. And they think, well, maybe empathy is something to throw up against the wall. I say no to those clients. That sets me up for failure. It sets them up for thinking they're going to get transformation when they haven't done the work of actually building relationships. So, the people that I find and the organizations that get the most mileage and transformation out of this are groups that have buy-in from the top. Change is always led best when it's championed by the C-suite. And people who say, we might not have all the answers, we might not know exactly how to do this empathy thing, but we want this to be one more tool in our toolkit of helping make our employees thrive. And just on a nuts and bolts level, I continue to be surprised and delighted with the clients that I get to work with. I've worked with large RV manufacturers who have tons of people working on the line, to the Canadian Diplomatic Corps, to tech companies here in Indianapolis, to healthcare organizations. It really is a skill set that needs to be deployed in so many areas of business.
Wonderful. So you mentioned COVID earlier. What's been the greatest impact that COVID's had on your business?
Well, I think like any consultant, there was the initial belt tightening and constraint as everyone was rightly just figuring out how do we keep people working. And so there was a budget lockdown. I think that again, the most forward-thinking companies realized that they couldn't just stop investing in their people, that it was actually more important than ever. Um, but actually, by the time the second half of the year rolled around, the conversations and the entry points, like a, a contrast. In 2019, there was still a core of my people who I would speak at conferences or I would connect, and they would say, "Yes, this is an alignment. This is what we want." Um, I found that the people who said yes to my meetings, the people who were seeking me out, the people who it was much more top of mind within the public discourse that we need to think about support and empathy. It actually led to increased demand, which has been great to help serve.
Fantastic. That's awesome to hear. So everyone has had to pivot during the past year to figure out how to continue to build our business. So what's one or two actions that you've taken to pivot your business, and how's that been working for you?
I think everyone is learning. I am learning too how to do online networking and stay in touch with my contacts. On the one hand, it has been delightful to not drive to meet and greets, across town multiple times a month. Although at a certain point, I even have missed those hors d'oeuvres. But it's building up a different skill set of reaching out and being comfortable, not connecting for business favors, but just connecting to see how people are. I've written a lot more handwritten notes. I've been more in touch of sending small gifts to commemorate people's happy anniversaries or the sad things that are going on. That that serves me well as a business owner, keeping in touch. It also is congruent with what I do. I mean, I talk a lot about the meaningful gestures that we can do that are not necessarily high cost or high touch. And unless I'm practicing that personally, it's an impoverished way of teaching about it. So I've leaned hard into developing those skills. Mm, the other way that I have grown and pivoted is learning a lot more, especially in the middle of the year, about what assistance was available to small business owners, whether that was the massive scale up in the whole mess of like, what is a PPP loan and who services it and where do we go and how is this affecting, how we're filing for taxes in 2020. I've read a lot of articles and been on my own stop and start learning journey of availing myself of the financial resources that are out there and trying to make sure that I maximize as a small business owner those elements of the tax code that can seem a little arcane and inaccessible.
Fantastic, wonderful. So you mentioned the non-essentials. We are sending out gifts and cards, and so we have a term for that. We call it critical non-essentials.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's so important to build those relationships and have those touch points, but not critical in the day-to-day operation of the business. But to your point, right, does become critical if you want to have that long-term, relationship with
Right.
our clients and our contacts. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is something that I have noticed from afar about you, Tim, is that commitment to consistency, especially when so much of our worlds are disrupted. I think it's really easy to be caught up in the swirl of the chaos of it all and just the consistency of execution in a relational sense. We've all experienced, sometimes it's other people's disruption. We don't know what's going on in their personal lives or if they have someone in the hospital, and it can as a small business owner, you can feel the like emotional exhaustion and be like, I'm not going to send another email that they've just replied to, or I'm not going to try another thing like that. I'm just going to, in that sense of just like almost non emotional engagement of being like, I'm just going to keep executing. Is really good. So I think you do that well. I've observed
Thank
that.
you. Thank you so much. Just so people don't think that I didn't go through the same roller coasters. As a business owner myself, I went through the chaos of what are we going to do and how are we going to survive? And oh my goodness, the world
Yeah,
is going to end. So,
absolutely.
well, here's an interesting question. It's been said that smart people learn from their mistakes and wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So, what's a mistake that you've made along the way that you'd be willing to share with the audience to help other entrepreneurs learn from your experience?
Yeah, I'll tell you about one of my most disappointing moments of 2020, which was it was right at the start of the pandemic, and I was scoping a proposal with a company that was going to be my biggest deal yet to date. And it was going really well. You know, I had all that, like it was almost signed. But then there was this other larger company that was, you know, they had like a non-compete sort of, both these organizations were in the same industry. So
Mm.
I was trying my best to like you know, entertain that option and keep both of them open. And it ended up in the end, I got neither. It felt so frustrating. Like I just remember, and this is when, you know, the world is falling down around our ears. And this was
Mm.
like the thing. I was like, well, everything else is falling apart, but I'm working with them. Um, yeah, so I felt so desolate. And the learning from mistakes, I reached out to my business coach, and I sent her the emails, and I was like, I'm new at this. I have not done, two before. Gosh golly, I thought I was doing a good job, and it just blew up in my face. And just to get her feedback, to integrate it, her feedback was that I had over communicated. I had really said like too much and I was trying to do due diligence of like keeping them both in the loop. And so she was, next time, like you can just keep your cards closer to your chest. You don't have to. And so that still felt like a hard learning though, because like at that point, like a $22,000 like loss, and
Yes.
yeah, there's still a part of me that's a little, oh, I wish it had happened. But I think that's absolutely true. To be willing to engage with and learn from our mistakes. I'm not going to make the same mistake the next
Yes.
time I'm
Yeah.
in potentially a bidding situation.
Yes. So it wasn't a $22,000 loss. It was a $22,000 education moment.
A $22,000 education moment, yes, which is like that's like definitely a top tier state school. Tuition, and I didn't even have to pay room and board.
Look at
I'm
how
gonna start
quickly
framing it that
look
way.
at how quickly you've accelerated your own growth.
Ab- Absolutely. Well, and I was just having lunch with a colleague yesterday, and you probably feel this. I mean, in the small business world, you don't know when something is going to pay off with like work or relationship, or even the person who doesn't buy from you but they recommend somebody to you down the line. And yeah, that capacity to just keep moving in that direction and not be tied to like the weakliness of outcomes. I've talked about in the entrepreneurial journey, like the most important management that I do is the management of my emotional self in a
Yes.
day-to-day basis,
Yes.
because I could be jerked all over the place, like this is the most amazing thing ever. This is never going to work.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be that person.
My wife's in sales as well, so we get to share stories. And the consistent thing to what you're just talking about is you can never accurately predict which prospect's going to say yes and which one's going to say no. So you have
Right.
to treat them all the same, and you often get surprised that the one you thought no is the one that says yes, and the one you were so confident in is the one that says no. And so you just have to
Right.
keep planting the seeds, right?
Right. And the ones that activate so quickly, and the ones that like require a year and a half
Yep.
consistent.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So my coach says to me that it's just be persistent and consistent,
Mm,
because you never know when the seeds are going to sprout. You just have to keep nurturing them.
that's good.
Second last question here. So we've got your contact information. We'll be sure to include that along with this video. But is there anything else that you want to make sure that the audience knows, or do you have any type of offers or ways for people to find out how you can help them?
Yes. So my information is there. I'm open to a free consultation to talk about the needs of your workplace, some of the things that have come up as issues you're confronting as a manager, as an HR director, as an executive, of just saying we want to get our people the best tools that they need. We can do it over Zoom. If you're vaccinated and feeling like having coffee, my treat. Also, something I didn't mention, I'm the host of my own podcast, which is the Handle with Care Empathy at Work podcast. If you find it wherever you find podcasts, it has two arms looking like a heart. But I just recorded the 56th episode.
Oh,
So
wow.
I have had great guests, and what they do is they talk about a disruptive life event that they've gone through and how they were well supported, how they were missed. We end each episode with 3 key takeaways to help make you a better manager, coworker, or friend. So that is a great free resource. If you're thinking about, wow, we're having these struggles on the team, I don't know what to say, I don't want to take a misstep. They're really engaging. I've had fantastic guests. So they're touching on everything from alcoholism to suicide to divorce to miscarriage to adoption. And so that is a great resource to check out as well.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure to put a link in this as well for folks to be able to access that podcast. So last question here, Liesel, tell us what's been most inspiring to you over all the craziness of the past year?
Hmm. Most inspiring to me actually has been the growth of my marriage in the midst of all of the chaos of the last year, and that dovetails with something that I say a lot in my sessions, which is there's so much isolation right now, and things can seem really overwhelming. And actually, seeking professional help and counseling is so good. My husband and I are not new to counseling, whether that was after the death of our daughter or just walking through, our youngest has had to have a number of open heart surgeries, but it's a parenting is always hard. Pandemic parenting. I have 4 like very active kids, and just the stress of life and our own relational things. In September of this year, we were like, we need to be back in counseling, and it is inspiring because it's a very personal example of the broader theme of like continued pursuit of growth, of communication, of empathy and understanding. Um, it's good for the spirit, it's good for relationships, and I'm really thankful to say that in the midst of so much that is disrupted and my children who can be overwhelming, I'm really happy with my partner at this stage, and that continues to be a source of good inspiration.
What a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. So that does conclude the interview. For folks listening to this, if you've heard something that piques your interest, please reach out to Liesel. Like I said, I'll include the contact information along with this post. Empathy is huge. As Liesel mentioned earlier, some of us may not feel we're empathetic. It doesn't mean that we can't learn it. Will have a tremendous impact on both your business as well as your personal life. So take advantage of that free opportunity to have a consultation with her. Liesel, thank you so much for being on the show today. Appreciate the opportunity to learn about you and your business, and wish you tremendous success.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a good day.